So thank you, Mr. Marsh. Thank you, Soren. I got to tell you, I'm feeling a little shell-shocked. I talked about my kids and their the tooth fairy, and Eric's killing it with the data that his team pulled together. So appreciate everything so far. Next up is Michael Golz, 20 years, 1 month with the company. So that's awesome. He spent the past 7 years as the CIO of SAP Americas. And so what's been exciting during that time, and he's come down to Washington, D.C. from our headquarters in Philadelphia a couple times to talk with local folks, is that period for SAP has been dynamic. Lots of acquisitions, organic growth. And so what I love about Michael's viewpoint on the company is how we've taken on other companies, their platforms, their people, and change the oil on the car while it's moving. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So if we reflect back on the opening keynote and the previous conversation, I think there are a couple of themes that come across that are very universal across almost every industry on the planet. One is the need to bring down sustainment costs to fund innovation. The ability to use new intelligent technologies that have now become available, that are now feasible, that allow us to rethink business processes and to solve new problems. Third, using data. We've heard the term data in both presentations many, many times. And it's really more than just optimizing business processes. It is capturing and using data that's coming from the business processes and the systems to make more intelligent decisions. The ability to move systems into the cloud has reduced the need to have on-premise infrastructure, has allowed, like in the previous case, to build prototypes quicker, to set up a platform as a service, do the prototyping, get through a proof of concept, and then prove out if this is something that we want to go forward with in production. And so I think there's a set of common themes that we have seen, and it reflects back on what is happening in the software industry and how SAP has been reacting to that. So we have introduced at our Sapphire conference in May a concept that we call the intelligent enterprise. And it consists of 3 distinct elements. The first one is the intelligence suite. So this is your typical process automation, application landscape, hopefully, preferably in the cloud, the typical delivery and supporting of business processes across all industries. The second one is digital platform. So here we're talking about using data, providing a cloud platform to leverage data, to make use of that, to be agile and build either new scenarios or extend applications that you have, be it from SAP or not from SAP. In the core, in the center of all this are intelligent technologies. And we have heard earlier the distinction between artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, IoT analytics. All these things are coming together, become available. The price of a sensor is now minimal. The price of 3D printing has gone down dramatically. You have companies like UPS going into manufacturing, distributed manufacturing. They're using the distribution centers as a last mile to produce material for people to pick up in the distribution center. So these technologies have allowed companies to really transform themselves and to change the industry that they're competing in. We heard the example earlier about Uber. That's a very common one, and Airbnb now has more capacity than Hilton and Marriott combined in terms of rooms available for booking. So very, very fundamental changes. So software needs to change as well. We can no longer go to market with these more heavy solutions that take long times to implement. We need to be able to decompose these solutions, become more service-oriented, become more of a mashup of loosely integrated solutions that are able to share data and pass data from one application to another. And the goal really is to make use of these intelligent technologies both for dedicated scenarios as well as inserting intelligence and data capabilities into the processes and into the intelligence suite. So when we look at these intelligent technologies, we're not just looking at providing a platform so that people can build their own scenarios. It's also about inserting machine learning and artificial intelligence, for example, into business processes across the entire spectrum, from customer experience, manufacturing and supply chain, the digital core, people engagement, both employees as well as contractors, and the network and spend management that you see at the top of this chart. So if we decompose these three layers, in the intelligent suite, we've basically acquired and developed solutions that run natively in the public cloud. So our goal in this discussion is about how do you move into the cloud. The goal is to provide comprehensive solutions for these individual areas that allow you to move into a software as a service model as much as possible. And I totally understand and get that for some of the applications that we're talking about, public cloud is not the answer at this time. The same is true for SAP, for our internal operations. And I'll talk a bit about how we run our internal systems in the second half of this presentation. What are we doing in a private cloud? What are we doing in a public cloud? What are the rules that we apply when we make a decision what goes into public cloud and what stays in a private cloud or even on-premise environment? The important thing when we talk about the suite is that we need to be able to provide integration between these components, because companies and entities and departments will choose to deploy them in different combinations. So some will deploy just the HR element, some others will go into digital core and want a very integrated solution across that. When we look at the bottom layer of this intelligent enterprise framework, here we're talking about data. We're talking about the HANA platform in-memory database that allows us to bring together transactions and analytics in the same platform. That's really my takeaway from the previous presentation. Using the data that is generated inside the business process, make it available through analytical tools without necessarily moving the data from one place to the next. When you think through the concept of an in-memory database and what we're doing with our S/4HANA suite, the whole topic is around not moving data around to all these different places, which introduces the need to reconcile information, which leads to silos of data that cannot be maintained properly, that takes a lot of sustainment costs to keep alive, and that is very, very difficult to integrate with all the different disparate data sets that you have in your enterprise. So the goal is to leave the data where it is, to pull it in at runtime, to correlate with different data sources. That's the whole topic here that we're solving in this data platform. Providing a cloud platform as a service can help accelerate some of the implementations that you want to stand up quickly. So it reduces and eliminates the need to build own infrastructure. You can use the HANA platform, development tools, predictive tools, all the engines that we're talking about in a platform as a service to get things going. And in some cases, you just build a prototype, and at some point you decide, how do I want to deploy this? Is this something that needs to go into a private cloud environment and needs to be protected more, or can I keep this in a platform as a service that is operated like a commercial solution out in the market? At the center of all this, and why we're talking about this, are the intelligent technologies that we want to insert in both business processes and dedicated solutions built for individual industries. So what we're doing is we're offering engines that you can use to build those scenarios, and we use these engines ourselves to augment and make more intelligent our own solutions that we bring to market. So this is a common core of technologies that we provide for you to build on, as well as engines that we're using internally to augment the processes that we provide through our application software. And we've all heard in the previous conversations that it's about using data more effectively, making decisions quicker, more precise, get from reactive to predictive, adjust to events that were not foreseen, where you have a disruption in your supply chain. I'm not a supply chain expert, I have to confess. SAP doesn't have a very sophisticated supply chain other than the hardware that we use or the devices that we use to provide our cloud services and buying a bunch of DVDs to put software on to ship it to the customer. That's the extent of our supply chain. So talking about this concept of inserting intelligence into business processes, this is just an example. This is a snapshot. It's actually not the most recent one. But these are processes where we're taking machine learning capability and insert that capability into existing business processes. Some of them are pretty, let's say, very established processes where you say, well, is that the right place to start? So I'll give you an example. Invoice matching is something that can be very laborious and error-prone. In the commercial side, for example, you may be sending, and again, I'm not a defense expert or supply chain expert. My examples come from the commercial space. So if you send out 100,000 invoices to a bunch of customers and you get 1,000 payments back, the challenge is how do you reconcile and match the invoices to the payments that are coming in? Customers may have different payment behaviors. Not always do you have a reference to make the match between the invoices and the payments. Some customers give you a reference number, some don't. Some bundle together the payment for multiple invoices into one payment, but they short pay by 2% because they pay right away. A machine can learn these behaviors by customer. So we're building intelligence into this mundane process of matching invoices that go out, payments that come in, look at the behavior of the customer, and help match those many, many transactions and clear these items. In many cases, the models that we're training, which are all based on data is the common thread in all these conversations, have a higher level of accuracy than the human being trying to establish and trying to execute the same business process. And certainly, if you take the machine that has learned and been trained on data and you augment it with the judgment that a human being can execute, and you combine the two, you get better decisions, you get better accuracy, and I'm pretty sure that translates well into your area because it's all about quick decision-making, accuracy, and there's a lot at stake if that doesn't happen properly. So you may see things here on this list that apply to you. This is a subset of the scenarios. And there are individual industry-specific roadmaps of what we're doing in these spaces to insert intelligence into the applications. But what I also wanted to do in this presentation is talk a bit about how we are running our systems inside the company, inside SAP. And as you can imagine, that's an interesting proposition, running SAP systems within the company that writes the software, that's being used by people who wrote the software or who do consulting, who know it all, who all know it better. And they all come back from the Sapphire event. They see the latest and greatest releases on the screens of the demo pods. And obviously, when they come back to the company, inside the company, they expect all this to flicker on the screens with very little appreciation. What does it really take to run this? What does it take to upgrade systems, to keep them running at great performance with low cost of sustainment? So let me take you quickly through the journey that we have gone through as we went to more cloud solutions. And then we can talk about briefly what is the target architecture that we're working towards and what are the main directions that we're taking with this enterprise architecture. So the first thing that you see on this slide is at the top, and I have to change the colors on this. They're too subtle for a big projection screen like this, so it doesn't show correctly. It's supposed to be a light blue. Everything above the SAP Cloud Platform line are cloud solutions that are true SaaS solutions. So we're not running an SAP-specific variation of Ariba or SuccessFactors or Concur. We've signed up to these services like we were an external customer. We could be sharing infrastructure with one of the agencies if you're running on the commercial version of one of those products. Our goal is to run these solutions as close to standard as possible. So low modification. I don't say zero modification because that's a dream. low amount of modification, and only extend where you absolutely have to extend because a business requirement is very, very critical and cannot be addressed by standard functionality. It takes a lot of discipline. In my experience, public cloud solutions help establish a discipline because they take away some of the ability to customize. You're constraining yourself. So our goal is whenever we have a horizontal process, a process that is non-differentiating, and quite frankly, in our case, HR is non-differentiating in a sense that we manage people, we pay people, we do performance management, we assess people, we give incentives, we have succession planning, development planning, learning, we recruit. These are all things that you do, that everybody else in the world does. We do that. Looks a little different, different logo, different process, slight variations. There may be some compliance aspects that are industry specific and make it harder, but in general, this is a horizontal process. The industry and the customers basically have made a decision to run this in the cloud. There are very few customers who still ask for a full on-premise HR suite. And here again, I fully realize that that is not possible for everybody and that transition takes time. But even moving an on-premise HR system into a private cloud environment is something that can be done and can drive down sustainment cost significantly. On the procurement side, as I said, our procurement is nowhere near as complex as what you guys are doing. But in our case, procurement is a horizontal process. We're putting things out to bid, we're managing suppliers, we're buying things, we're receiving goods, we get invoices, we match our purchase order, we match that with the goods receipt, with the invoice, we do that automatically. We apply machine learning in that matching process as well, and that automates the procurement process to a large extent. So here, I think we're probably in a much easier position, luckier position, if you will, compared to many of you here in the room. But I would argue that in indirect procurement, maybe the difference is actually not that big. In direct procurement, certainly, that's a whole different ballgame, and I'm not even pretending to fully understand how that would work. At the lower level, below SAP Cloud Platform, you see systems that were running in a private cloud environment. And our HANA Enterprise Cloud team is the group that provides these services to us. So in IT, we are a customer of HANA Enterprise Cloud. In your case, if you're running in a secure environment, the analogy would be we would be a customer of NS2. So they do system operations, all things infrastructure, data center, network, server, operating system, all the way up to database. And IT comes to the table when it is about configuring the solution, operating the solutions, not on a technical level, but on a business process level. That's the delineation between the private cloud provider, who in our case an internal one, and the IT organization providing business processes to the business. All systems are running on the HANA platform. They've done so since 2011 and 12 for the BW system, March 2013 for the CRM system, August 2013 for our ERP system. So that has been an established platform for more than 5 years. We have implemented what's called S/4HANA Finance in our core ERP system. So this system right now is a hybrid between S/4 for everything that's finance and controlling, and traditional ECC for everything that's not finance and controlling in the same instance. Each box that you see on the screen here is a designation for a single instance of this particular application. So we don't have multiple instances of the same. It's in a single instance for each of those areas. We are in the process of converting the rest of the functionality of our core system into a full S/4 environment. We started the process in March this year, and we're going live in August of next year. It's about 17 to 18 months. For a while, we were not sure as we go to S/4 Would we move into a greenfield environment, start fresh, nuke the whole thing and start fresh? The old system's 24 years old. Maybe it's time for a do-over. Or if we would convert the system that we have with all its functionality, all the good things that we built over the many decades, but also the bad things over modifications that we have in certain areas. We started out with a greenfield system for one of our subsidiaries because they were coming from a non-SAP environment and we were under time pressure, so that was the only path forward. We built it with the intention of potentially moving into that system over time. At the same time, we did conversion checks against the releases as they came out, and as of the 1709 release, meaning last year Q3, we had a version of the S4 software that we could convert into without having to redo a lot of the things that are already in our system. There are 80 things that are on the Delta list, 80 things that we need to change and resolve to make this work. We're working through these right now, and August next year is our go live for that. So in crayon simple terms, this is the target architecture that we're working towards. The core pieces in the middle are S/4HANA. That is a private cloud environment. It is a conversion of our existing environment into the now 1809 release with a go-live in August of next year. To the left, you see SAP C/4HANA. That's the CRM functionality, which includes a new configure price quote tool, commissions tool, et cetera, et cetera. On the right, you see all the cloud solutions that are supporting our support processes, Ariba, Concur, Fieldglass, and SuccessFactors. And then on top, we're doing a lot for customers to work with us in a more digital fashion. So our own digital transformation is in full swing, and we're deploying these solutions to enable to have a better interface with our customers and to have a more seamless customer experience in all business models that we support. License, maintenance, education, cloud services, platform as a service, business network. So we're doing a lot of things in parallel. And our goal internally is to enable these business models without increasing our back office staffing and back office costs as we do these transitions. That's what I had, and I'm not sure we have time for questions. Otherwise, I hand it over to Steve.
Are there any questions? So
as you moved your legacy SAP systems into the S4 system, are you moving all of your different SAP instances into one S4 system?
We started out with one to begin with.
Right.
So we had one ECC system. We then inserted S4 Finance into that system in 2015, but we were still in a single instance.
Right.
Which we're now converting into S4 1809. So we don't have to consolidate because we started out with one.
Okay, so how many internal and external interfaces are you eliminating by doing this migration?
There's a lot of, if you will, re-architecting of some of those interfaces, right, because functionality now moves in. I don't have a finite number for you, but we're bringing in surrounding applications which we can now support in the core back into the S4 system.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Okay, sounds good.
I want to ask you what our percentage is sustainment versus innovation. Back to Eric's presentation.
Well,
that's probably a fireable offense for me to ask you down on stage.
I don't have the number for you, because what we're doing is we have a mix of sustainment of the business systems, providing the production or development infrastructure for our 25,000 developers. So it's pretty hard for us to carve that out, but it's below the 50% mark.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I appreciate you coming.
Thank you.